for the peace and harmony among all people. Shanti Shanti Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Stapakaya Chadharmasya Sarvadharmasvarupine Stapakaya Chadharmasya Sarvadharmasvarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namah. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. We have been studying the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna taken from the Gospel, how to get into freedom. Because we find in this world there is no real freedom anyway. And so we are not able to experience the real joy of freedom. The real joy of freedom you can experience only when you realize your true nature. When you realize God, the indwelling consciousness, then you'll immensely enjoy the bliss of God. Then only you get fulfillment. Then only you get real freedom. Till then, you are struggling in order to get into that state of freedom. So, why, in spite of the fact that we have to achieve that goal, still we are not able to do it? The reason is obvious. The mind and the senses, they are all extremely engaged in external activities of the world. That means the mind and the senses are totally involved in the worldly activities. As long as the whole system is geared up towards that, you will not be able to experience the real freedom. So, the more the entanglement, the more the suffering. It appears to give some kind of joy, but then pain is more than the joy. That's what you find in your experience with the world. No one is happy in the real sense of the term. So, what's the way? Lord Krishna tells very clearly in the Bhagavad Gita, Mayyarpita mano buddhihi. That is, you see, it is well known, people ask God, oh God, give me prosperity, give me this, give me that. People ask Lord many things. Lord Krishna himself tells in the Gita, Artho jigyasu artharthi jnanicha bhartarshava. Those who are in distress, they pray to God so that they overcome the distress. Well, here Lord Krishna is asking. That is really very strange how God is asking. It's quite natural, people asking God. But here, what he is asking for? The Lord asks for the highest and the best. He says, give me your mind. Give me your intellect. That's the indication. If you are able to give your mind to God, if you are able to give your intellect to Him, then there is every possibility that you will be able to achieve freedom. The senses are very, very powerful. Of course, everybody knows it. As soon as you wake up from the bed, how all the senses become active, how the mind becomes active, how the whole body becomes active. Activity. Life means activity. So, the senses are very active and they are very powerful. That also Lord Krishna says. But more powerful than the senses is the mind. Mind. Powerful even more than the mind is buddhi, the intellect. And then Lord Krishna discloses the most sacred secret, that is, and supreme above the intellect is Lord Himself. So He is beyond the intellect. So He is telling us where He would be reached. It is disclosed. He is beyond mind and intellect. So if you have to reach Him, if you have to experience the bliss of God, you must transcend your mind, your intellect. So it comes to that point. If you deeply think about these instructions of Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, you get a remarkable insight into the secret of one of the most arduous of exercises, how to live in the world and yet be free. You have to live in this world, but at the same time you need not be bound. You do not feel you are in bondage. You can be in this world and you can be very happy. Now, what is the world? What is this world? Acharya Shankara, who advocates the non-dual philosophy, he tells it is Maya. What is Maya? That which is not reality. That is Maya. The world, what you are seeing, if you analyze it, you find it is just a series of movements, continuous changes, a passing show, a mere appearance. Every moment, everything is changing and changing and changing. How can you call that reality which constantly changes? So it is not the eternal truth. So you can't rely upon that. Today you see, tomorrow you may not see that. So why the misery comes? It comes by mistaking the appearance for the reality. To think unreal as real is a source of suffering and misery. To think unreal as real. So, why that thinking comes? Because of ignorance. That ignorance is compared to darkness. In order to get over darkness, light the lamp of knowledge. By lighting the lamp of knowledge, the darkness of ignorance is dispelled. So, it means the delusion breeds sorrow. And what is the source of the delusion? Sri Ramakrishna has pinpointed very specifically. He has said, and it is true, the whole world is just playing on these two things, that is lust and greed. Lust and greed. And Sri Ramakrishna, in one of his teachings in the Gospel, also says, land, lust and greed, property. For the sake of property, how people quarrel, how people suffer, and how people become crazy on account of the possession of the properties, on account of the lust and greed, how people behave in a very mad way. They lose all human qualities. And so they suffer and suffer and suffer. That means slaves to sex and avarice. You forget the purpose of life. Purpose of life. Sri Ramakrishna said the purpose of life is to experience truth. To see God face to face. To realize Him. To enjoy the bliss of God. That is the purpose of life. Try to get that by whatever practice you are doing. It doesn't matter what religion you belong to, but get into the truth. Every religion asserts the presence of God. Realize Him. That's the purpose of life. Realize Him. So realization. Religion is realization. So you have to apply religion in that practical sense. It's not for simply theorizing. It's not to become simply a philosopher or a pandit, but to realize the truth in this world and experience the bliss. The senses are very potent, no doubt. But it does not follow that they are to blame for the mess in which we find ourselves. On the contrary, the senses are valuable instruments, indispensable for the survival of the body. All the senses must behave properly, must function properly. Then only you maintain your good health. A perfect health means all your senses are active. Without senses, without the activity, without the function of the senses, you become lifeless. So senses are very important. They are sophisticated appliances that record and report what they are able to perceive of the external world. They are expert information media, but they do the reporting without comments. They supply the data. It is a mind that makes use of the data supplied by the senses. Mind is the king there, king of the senses. All the senses report whatever they perceive in this external world, and the mind takes them and interprets them, manipulates them. It integrates and interprets what the senses convey. So, the senses serve their master, the mind. Master is the mind of the senses. It is for the mind to mold out of the sense data either happiness or misery. There's a famous poem by Milton. He says, the mind is its own place and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. And our scriptures also agree. Maneva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. Man eva manushya karanam bandha mokshayoho. That is, the mind is the very cause of one's bondage as well as one's salvation. So mind, you have to know how to control it, how to make it behave. That's the spiritual practice. If you don't give proper attention for the controlling of the mind, then you can't have any control over the senses. So mind and senses, they join together and they bring untold suffering. Again, Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Dhyayato Vishyan Pumsaha Sangasteshu Upajayate Sangha Sanjayate Kam, and so on. The meaning is, as the mind goes on contemplating the sense objects, what will happen? One gets attached to them. One gets attached to them. Then it doesn't stop there. From attachment springs desire. And from desire comes anger, because you are not able to satisfy your desire all the time. And sometimes some obstructions may come on the way of fulfilling your desire, you become angry. Because of the anger, one gets deluded. And out of delusion, right remembrance is lost. When remembrance is lost, the intellect decays. And with the decay of the intellect, the ruin is complete. Man is totally destroyed on account of that. If therefore we are to nip the trouble in the bud, we must restrain the mind from indulging in repeated thinking about sense objects. Senses always crave for the respective objects. But you must know how much to take, how much to reject. It's just like taking the food. Food is served on the plate. Take as much as you need. Not more than that, not less than that. That's the way of taking the food. Then you will be happy, your stomach will be all right, and you can maintain good health. But on the other hand, if you don't give much attention to that, if you overeat, then it creates all sorts of problems later on. So, the first glance at an object is harmless. But the second glance, the third glance, and the glances that follow willy-nilly brew mischief. You will be caught unawares. It is like the itching sensation. As you scratch a sore, the temptation grows to scratch some more. You lose control, and what was originally just a faint irritation turns into a gaping wound. Restraining the mind is a duty of the intellect. The mind is governed by the intellect. Buddhi. The Kathopanishad, it compares the senses to horses and the mind to the reins. It calls Buddhi the charioteer who manipulates the reins and drives the horses in the required direction. If for some reason Buddhi is inefficient, the restive horses gallop along the wrong path and hijack the chariot. But when the intellect is wise and dexterous, the horses behave beautifully and take the passenger in the chariot, the soul, to the summit. The mind, it is pointed out, is a pendulum oscillating between two contraries. Sankalpa vikalpa bhyam manaha. Sankalpa vikalpa. The mind swings between idea and counter idea. Both come to the mind. It is swayed by pros and cons. It imagines something, then starts doubting it, and then veers to the opposite view. It is extremely vacillating. Even the great Arjun, the heroic Arjun in Mahabharata, he finds it necessary to complain to the Lord. Chanchalam vimana Krishna. The mind is terribly restless. Arjuna complains to Lord Krishna. To control that restlessness of the mind is just like controlling the wind. It is so difficult. The intellect is a faculty that studies the mind. Nishchayatmaka buddhihi. Nishchayatmaka buddhi. The deciding faculty. The buddhi makes for certainty. It checks indefiniteness. Suppose the mind is considered an advocate making biased pleadings on behalf of a particular aspect of a situation. The intellect is the judge who gives a clear and firm verdict. But then, a judge is not infallible. To err is human. And a judge being human is liable to error. The verdict given by the intellect can be wrong. Can be wrong. After all, our intellect is but a tiny lens that can scan a very limited field alone. It doesn't have a broad view of reality. What it reflects is but a fragment of truth. And there is no guarantee that it is not a distorted reflection. So there should be a higher court of appeal, a state higher than the mental. That is, a thing superior to the intellect in wisdom. That is the Lord Himself. Buddho paratastu saha. Buddhehe paratastu saha. Buddhehe paratastu saha. The Lord is the ultimate source from whom the intellect, the mind and the senses derive whatever powers they are able to exercise. They all shine by borrowed light. He alone is self-luminous. So when the Lord asks us to offer Him our mind and intellect, He is inviting us to walk in the light guided by His wisdom and power. Just follow His teachings. Sri Ramakrishna tells, I have done all the spiritual practices. Just you try to practice 1/16 of what I have done, you will get everything. Just to follow their teachings is enough. That can take care of everything. And God's demand is not a tyrannical demand, but a loving call. In our narrow pride, we imagine that our intellect is all sufficing, that it can measure up to any situation. Again and again, life deals us blows to make us conscious of the enormous limitations of the human intellect. But we refuse to see and suffer in consequence. Prahlad, a great devotee, well known for devotion. The story comes in Bhagavad. He points this out to his power-intoxicated father. His father was very arrogant, boastful, and he would always think there was nobody greater than him. And he began to claim that he is more powerful than God himself. Who is that God? I am the most powerful person. Like that he would boast himself. So one day, that father thunders and asks his son Prahlad, from where the boy gets the strength to defy him. Prahlada, in his innocence, he replies, Father, not only for me, but for you and others too, considered powerful, the real source of strength is God himself, the Supreme Being. The Lord of the universe. He is the source of strength. He is the powerhouse, and all of us are but motors, big or small, working with power tapped from him. The less the resistance offered by a conductor, the stronger the current that flows through it. This is also the meaning of the apparently paradoxical assertion of Saint Paul. Saint Paul has said, my strength is made perfect in weakness. My strength is made perfect in weakness. The weaker we are in our egoism, the less we oppose our petty will against his. The greater is the power with which he endows us. Most powerful is he who claims no power as his own, but lives consciously as his instrument. Sri Ramakrishna tells in the Gospel, O Mother, you are the machine. You are the operator, I am the machine. You are its operator. Everything is done according to your will. I am only instrument. I am your child. You are my everything. So, if you study the life of Sri Ramakrishna, you find that his whole mind, all the senses, intellect, everything were offered to Divine Mother. In consequence, Sri Ramakrishna was always cheerful and happy, always blissful. And he would say, what is inside me? It is Divine Mother herself. Offering the mind and the intellect to the Lord implies total surrender. Total surrender. Sampurna Sharanagati. Not 50%, 100% surrender. It is what Sri Ramakrishna calls the salt dole merging in the sea. Prahlada's identification with the Lord's will was so perfect. He is called Krishna Graha Grihita Atma. He is possessed by the formidable spirit called Krishna. So, Lord Krishna is directing us. Give your mind and intellect and be free. Sri Ramakrishna tells, constantly repeat God's name and be free. That's the way. That's the way to experience the glimpses of real happiness, the real joy, the real peace will come only if you properly tune your mind and intellect in the right direction. Always be aware of God's consciousness. Always be aware of that. And Be always humble. Always think that God is working through you. You are only God's instrument. That's the way. That itself is a practice you have to follow. Then you'll be able to experience the truth in this life. With these words, I conclude my talk. And I will continue the same topic next Tuesday. Page 650, Sri Ramakrishna said, once I visited Devendranath Tagore with Mathur Babu. I said to Mathur, I have heard that Devendra Tagore thinks of God. I should like to see him. All right, said Mathur, I will take you to him. We were fellow students in the Hindu college and I am very friendly with him. We went to Devendra's house. Mathur and Devendra had not seen each other for a long time. Devendra said to Mathur, you have changed a little. You have grown a fat around the stomach. Mathur said, referring to me, he has come to see you. He is always mad about God. I wanted to see Devendra's physical marks and said to him, let me see your body. He pulled up his shirt and I found that he had very fair skin, tinted red. His hair had not yet turned grey. At the outset, I noticed a little vanity in Devendra, Sri Ramakrishna is telling. And he is not that natural. He had such wealth, such scholarship, such name and fame, nothing that, noticing that streak of vanity. I asked Mathur, well, is vanity the outcome of knowledge or ignorance? Can a knower of Brahman have such a feeling as, I am a scholar, I am a jnani, I am rich? While I was talking to Devendra, I suddenly got into that state of mind in which I can see a man as he really is. I was convulsed with laughter inside. In that state, I regard scholars and the book learned as mere straw. If I see that a scholar has no discrimination and renunciation, I regard him as worthless straw. I see that he is like a vulture which soars high but fixes its look on a charnel pit down below. I found that Devendra had combined both yoga and bhoga in his life. He had a number of children, all young. The family physician was there. Thus you see, though he was a jnani, yet he was preoccupied with worldly life. I said to him, you are the king Janaka of this Kali Yuga. Holding to one as well as the other, he drank his milk from a brimming cup. I have heard that you live in the world and think of God, so I have come to see you. Please tell me something about God. He recited some texts from the Vedas. He said, this universe is like a chandelier and each living being is a light in it. Once, meditating in the Panchavati, I too had a vision like that. I found his words agreed with my vision and I thought he must be a very great man. I asked him to explain his words. He said, God has created men to manifest his own glory. Otherwise, who could know this universe? Everything becomes dark without the lights in the chandelier. One cannot even see the chandelier itself. We talked a long time. Devendra was pleased and said to me, "You must come to our Brahma Samaj festival." That, I said, depends on the will of God. You can see the state of my mind. There is no knowing when God will put me into a particular state. Devendra insisted, "No, you must come, but put on your cloth and wear a shawl over your body. Someone might say something unkind about your untidiness, and that would hurt me." "No," I replied, "I cannot promise that. I cannot be a babu." Devendra and Mathur laughed. We shall stop here. Any questions? Hmm? Guru. The Guru is the one who gives instructions and wants you to do spiritual practices in a particular way, by doing which you will be able to get over attachment and all other things connected with that. Yeah, Guru is the one who leads the spiritual aspirant towards the truth. It helps. It helps. But proper discrimination is important. Always you must discriminate. Why the attachment comes? Because of the involvement. Why should I involve? So, not involving, you have to conduct yourself. That means you love a person. In what manner? Don't expect anything in return. That means you are loving just because you love, that's all. But if you expect something back, that comes under attachment. So like that. Any more question? Any Nalini has got any question? No. They come because of the involvement in so many things. Always good and bad both come to the mind. Good thoughts, bad thoughts, they all come. But be discriminative. Don't care for the negative thoughts. Be more attentive to build up your good thoughts. Be assertive and think always positive ideas and identify with the positive things more and more. Concentrate upon what you have to do seriously. By your power of concentration, the negative thoughts they go away. So that only shows you need to strengthen your concentration upon the spiritual idea. Suppose you repeat God's name. Just you pray to God, "Oh God, please take care of the things, and I don't know anything. You are my everything. So I offer everything to you. Please take care of me." And be very sincere in your prayer and be free. You don't have to worry, you don't have to bother. Let any thoughts come, what does it matter? Don't act upon that. See, thoughts come because of so many factors. Say once a person went to a mall, big mall, and he saw so many articles are there. Suddenly a thought came to the mind. Nobody is watching. There are so many things are here. Why not I take one of the things? Why not I take? And why not I take one of the things? That's because of the bad tendency, stealing. But again, simply because the thought comes, he didn't act upon. He didn't steal. No, I don't want to take. I should not take. He didn't pay attention to that. Though the thought came, he did not pay any attention. That's the way. The thought came because of some inherent bad tendency. But then don't act upon. That means you have to build up your positive, strong tendencies. You have to build up nicely. You have to strengthen your good tendencies more and more. That is the way to counteract the bad tendencies. Don't act upon the whatever the negative thoughts come, and don't care for them. Be indifferent towards such things. Indifference. That's all. Of course, when it comes to practice, it is difficult, no doubt, but we have to practice. Even though it is difficult, we have to practice it. But if you know how to do it, it becomes easy. It looks difficult, but it becomes easy by practice. Abhyasa yoga, Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Abhyasa yoga, by constantly doing, you will be mastering the subject. Like that. Elena has got any question? No. All questions are solved. Thank you. I shall stop. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean, and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. Own name streamed down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its curve to knowledge of thyself, O self drowned deep in the waves of His bliss, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Oh, how I long for the day when an instant separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, and my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stillest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, but thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous reign tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be free from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of the sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied, for he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.